How's everyone doing this evening? Good? Woo! So welcome to tonight's lecture. My name is Peter Galle and I run the QU South Africa program here at Quinnipiac. How many of you here have heard of the QU South Africa program or participated? Or who here has seen Tamarin speak at one of their classes this week thus far? Cool. I've seen it 8 times this week. So just to give you guys a background, the QU South Africa program is made up of two different programs. There's a QU 301 South Africa program, which takes place in the spring semester with travel in May, learning about the history and culture of South Africa and participating in service projects once we get to South Africa. The other program right now is an alternative winter break trip, which meets during the fall semester and travels to South Africa in January, which is their summer. And we hold a week-long summer camp. And it's not like we're going to South Africa and saying, you know, we're Americans, we're here, we're gonna save you. We have partners, and those partners are the Tippy Foundation, and we're lucky enough to have Tamarin Simpson and Linda Spencer here tonight, our partners from South Africa, to share their experiences and working collaboratively with the communities that they do. But before I invite Linda and Tamarin up, I just wanted to share with you a quick little video that gives you an idea of what the conditions and the communities look like. And by no means is this, you know, a complete picture, but I can't right now hop on a flight to South Africa with you after 15 hours and have you look and experience it yourself. So this is not a complete picture, but it'll give you a sense of what it's like in the communities that the Tippy Foundation works in.
Every day I see something that needs to be done. I see projects and meet people who need help all the time. All the time. Generally, the communities that I look after are what I call the forgotten communities. So they're not the basic big townships that everyone always hears about. These are the small townships that are in the middle of nowhere. They are kind of detached from the rest of society. Their sanitary situation is dire, to say the least. You know, I've seen kids with cigarette burn marks on their faces. I've seen kids with broken arms. And they just don't get medical attention. I've seen kids with teeth that are black from decay. And that's just something that they have to push through, you know. The school where we are at the moment, they do not have running water. Opening a tap and getting some water because you're thirsty is not a luxury that these people have. Over 200 impoverished kids living in the school, and there is no running water. The school does the best that they can. They have water shipped in, or they use rainwater or borehole water. Health-wise, it's absolutely disgusting, and people are still living like this. You know, it blows my mind. But I just think it could be better. I was teaching them hip-hop, and that was great, and it was getting them off the streets, and I was engaging with them, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, so I felt like I had to do more. Christmas of 2009 is when we kind of started getting more involved. It was shocking for me back then to understand that children weren't getting presents for Christmas. We did a Christmas party for them and got them Christmas presents, and then it just grew from there. If I say to these people, I'll be there, I'll be there. They've been let down too many times, and I don't want to be another person to let them down.
Make your own lives, make your own choices, be leaders. Influence the younger kids in your communities. I know you can all do it.
I want to make sure we take the communities we have, we get them sustainable, we improve the education among the children, we introduce sport, we get self-esteem up, we get them taking pride in their communities. Once we get that community up and going and can see that there's been a sustainable difference, I'd like us to then move on to the next community. Just because these communities are poor doesn't mean that they're less human, that they're less important. They have names, they have stories, they have lives. And I think if we remember that and try and connect with them on that level, the change that we can make will just be so much greater.
So these communities didn't just end up there. There are reasons why certain communities are the way they are. And I'd like to invite first from the Tippy Foundation, Linda Spencer, just to give you a little bit of insight and background on just South Africa and why things are the way they are. And then I'll invite Tamarin Simpson to just explain a little bit about what it means to be working collaboratively with communities and not going in there into communities with the ideas of putting your own ideas and values on another community. So Linda, please.
Good evening, everyone. I was asked this evening to speak about what was it like being a white woman living in South Africa during apartheid. As I say, I'm not a professional speaker, so please forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous. When preparing for the speech, it just really gave me an opportunity to look back at the truth of how privileged I was during the apartheid years. And in saying that, I don't want in any way for it to come across that I condone apartheid, that I support apartheid. It wasn't a good time for South Africa, but it was part of my life. I basically lived in a very small town in the middle of South Africa. I'm not sure if anybody knows much about South Africa, but right in the middle there's a place called Johannesburg. And I lived there in a very small town, not quite away from the main town. And I lived there with my family, my mom, my dad, an elder sister and a younger brother. And we were a poor white family. A lot of people, when you speak about apartheid in the times of the whites running the country, everybody thought that all the white people there were wealthy. We certainly weren't a wealthy family. My dad had 2 jobs. He had to work during the day and work in the evenings as well. My mom made our clothes. Sometimes we never had food in the evenings. But we just lived a normal life. I didn't know at the time I wasn't wealthy. We made do with what toys we could. And my parents did the best that they could. And then I realized that during this time when my sister was born, she was a sickly child. She was epileptic and she had to have heart surgery. And 5 years later, my brother and myself had to have the same heart surgery. And looking back and reflecting, it actually made me quite aware and very sad that if I was a black person at that time in South Africa, I would have died. There would have been no care for me, and there was nowhere that I could have gone as a black person to have actually had surgery and survived. So just in that, I just feel very humbled and privileged. I never ever came in contact with black people living in South Africa in apartheid. The only black person that I saw was the lady who came in and cleaned our home. And we loved her. She was part of our family. She used to chase us around and play with us, and we used to eat her millipap food. But she had separate eating utensils. She had a separate toilet. We never drank from her mug, and I never questioned it. Kata was part of our lives. And I remember when she was with us until she was very, very old. And she died, and we wanted to go to her funeral, but we weren't allowed in the townships where she lived. I had no idea at the end of the day what she went home to. I had no idea that she never had a flushing toilet, that she never had running water, electricity. I don't even know if she had food to eat. We just weren't aware of it. So life was very simple for us. We were never exposed to other cultures. We never discussed politics in our home. I don't ever remember there being a newspaper in our home. I remember on a Friday night, we all used to gather around the radio and we used to listen. I suppose I'm really sounding very old, eh? We used to listen to the radio, but that was life for us. I attended a white school. I never saw black people. And I remember later when I got older, when I could read, there were benches that only white people could sit on. Only white people could go on the buses. If there were black people, they sat at the back of the bus. They weren't allowed to go to our toilets. They weren't allowed on our beaches. And when I'm saying it over here, it's actually horrific. But, so I went to a white-only school. I never studied any further than that. My parents never had the finances for it. The press controlled apartheid in government. The reporting of world affairs was censored. Even the books, and I didn't know this at the time, but the books that I read, the movies that we went to see, were all controlled by the government. In 1976, I was 15 at this stage, and very excited. We got our first television set, black and white television set. And we were the last country in the world to receive television. because the government just really didn't want us to be exposed to world politics. So tea was limited for a few hours a day. Sundays was just religious, broadcasting. So we weren't really exposed to much what was happening in the world, and our parents never encouraged it. I suppose that's the way they were brought up. All white men at the age of 18 went to the army, my father, my brother. And so at 18 years old, they left school. They had to go to the army for 2 years. And that was life. They had to go and protect our borders. A lot of them saw a lot of war. It was a lot of war zones. And they came back and experienced a lot of, battle and gunshots and wounds that really had a lasting effect on their lives. So in 1994, we all know Nelson Mandela was released. We had our first democratic government, and the majority black Nelson Mandela, his people, were voted into government. At this stage, I was 33 years old, and I had 3 children. And I must say, I was one of those white people who thought, okay, that's the end. The black people are going to come, and they're just going to kill all the white people. And I remember just buying food and non-perishable foods and storing them and milk, because I really thought that this was the end. But I believe God had his hand on South Africa that day, and I believe he still has his hand on South Africa. And it didn't happen like that. And I just think with the message Nelson Mandela spread, it was just incredible that it went the way that it did. So we had lived in Capetown at that time with my children, and I was adamant that they would never, ever grow up with the remnants of apartheid. And so they attended multi-schools. Our house was always open to children. And for my parents, it was a little bit difficult. They were a lot older. My dad is not alive anymore. But you can imagine when my younger daughter brought home a colored boyfriend, it was just not on. But we loved him, and it was just part of who we were and our family. We opened our home to everyone and every child that came to visit. So as a child in white apartheid South Africa, I never really feared anything. We just lived our lives and we carried on. But I must say that these days it's very different now. And with apartheid and poverty, with unemployment and poverty, our homes are protected with alarms and high walls. And so life in South Africa is difficult, but it's my home. And I am proudly African. And it's where I am. And after 20 years, I believe that the government hasn't done everything that they could have done to improve the situation in South Africa. But it's my desire and the desire of Tippy Toes to see change for all people, regardless of circumstances, to give hope and purpose for their lives. And it doesn't matter who they are, and it doesn't all either take much. And that's why we stick to our motto of people helping people, and sometimes that's all it takes. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming through. I know the weather's really bad and you'd rather be snuggled up at home, but I'm really glad that you're here. As I talk for the first bit, I just want you to glance over some of these laws, and these were real. And this is what impacted our country, and this is what apartheid was all about. And this is even though it may seem absolutely ridiculous now, this was a reality in South Africa, and it's because of these laws that the country is in the state that it is today. So, you've heard it 1,000 times. My name is Tamarin Simpson. You may not believe it, but I'm 31 years old. Born in South Africa. When people see me for the first time, when people see me, because I'm white, they assume I'm European. I was not born in Europe. My father and my father's father and my father's father's father was born in Africa. I'm not native South African white Afrikaner. So what exactly does that make me? What is my identity? I'm African. I'm a white African woman. And you say that to a black person and they just cannot absorb that. I'm born in Africa and I'm proud to say I'm a white African. South Africa is a really diverse nation. We have 11 official languages, and we live in a complex multiracial population. And the effects of apartheid still linger on 20 years later. As a child growing up during apartheid, I remember everything being white. No white people in my school, no black people in my school, no black people on the streets, no black people in the shopping centers. They they were segregated from our society and they had to go to townships far away. They didn't have running water, they didn't have electricity, and my mom explained a little bit about, what that was like for her. But for me, we never questioned it. That's just how life was, and we just carried on. I remember the first black girl coming into my school after Nelson Mandela became president in 1994, and it was a shocker. Everyone acted like this woman had a disease, like there was something wrong with her, something different about her. Why? Not because of the person she was, but because of the color of her skin. Within the black races in South Africa, there are different tribes. As I said, we have 11 official languages. These are examples of a Xhosa woman and a Zulu woman. Different traditions, different beliefs, different languages. And these are only 2 of the 11 that I spoke of previously. And where do white people fit into that? How do we all live in a society together that benefits everyone mutually? Unfortunately, we haven't quite got to that place yet, but I do believe that we're getting there. I was absolutely fascinated by black people and wanted to know more, and really, as I said, did not understand what the difference was. There were the cups that we kept for our maid and the plates were kept with the cleaning detergents. And just saying that now, it absolutely disgusts me. But that was the norm. They had a toilet outside where they had to go, and we're never allowed to use our toilets inside. Why? I can't tell you. So, driving down a dust road one day, and, I'm so happy to have some of the QU South Africa students here today, and, I know as they watch those clips, it brings back a whole bunch of memories for them, and positive and sad memories. And they know how far away our communities are, in the middle of nowhere. So driving down a dust road one day, came across these kids playing in a road. Nothing particularly, strange about that. But there was something about these kids that were a little bit different. They live in tin shacks, no running water, no electricity, yet somehow had a smile on their faces. And it started off with a wave. Then, I'm seriously into motorsports, so we started racing up and down, and, they were running me, and they'd obviously win every time. And, a couple of sweets every now and then. And I realized that a small action has a massive impact. And that's where I fell in love with this community and with these kids. And, the QU South Africa students are here, and, some of them spend 3 days, some of them spend 5 days. But they fell in love with the kids pretty much at first sight. And you speak to them today, and these kids have impacted their lives forever. Not because they're poor, not because they're colored in black, because they're human beings. And that Christmas in 2009, I contacted my friends and family, and we got a list of all the kids' names in Varplaas. Varplaas is the community you saw in the clip. Varplaas means pig farm. How proud would you be of your community called Pig Farm? These are human beings. And I was amazed to know that they'd never received a Christmas present. Naively, they don't have running water. Of course they're not going to receive Christmas presents. This was the first Christmas present they had ever received in their lives. Small impact, massive difference. And from there, we realized, surely we can give blankets, because it's known as the Cape of Storm, Capetown where we stay. The weather is really, really bad. We can give blankets when they need it. We can give clothing when they need it. The kids run around with no shoes on. It's freezing cold. We've got jackets. They've got nothing. And those were immediate needs that they needed assistance with. And we helped them with that. But how much of an impact was that really making long term? How are we affecting their lives moving forward? So we came up with a 3-pronged approach. Sustainable social change being our goal. And that was education, soccer and art, and sustainable businesses. As Peter said earlier, we didn't go into the communities and be like, we're white, we're privileged, allow us to fix your problems. It wasn't like that at all. We had a meeting with the community leaders. Jolene and Frank, you guys know them. What is it that your community needs? How can we assist? You know, and it was very, very basic needs. Just as an example, roofs leaked. Imagine living in your home every single day and water is dripping through your roof. You sit here and you're trying to comprehend that. It's a very difficult concept to grasp. Everything is wet, everything is muff. It's not like you have, you know, spare towels in the closet that you can go and dry everything up with. And the kids were getting sick, no medical care nearby, and it was just a vicious cycle. So that was one of the projects that, you know, we helped with and we assisted with. But it wasn't enough. So we got involved with their school, Faiki Primary School. Again, in the middle of nowhere, 2 or 3 kilometers away from where they live, which is already 10 kilometers out of town. And when I arrived at the school for the first time, it's not what you would imagine a school to look like. The school's painted in old school apartheid colors. There were no trees, no flowers. Really, really old jungle gyms right at the back that were locked. The kids weren't permitted to play because the teachers just didn't have the time to watch them because they were so busy teaching all day. No running water. And this was a reality. This was their chance of hope. This was their key to success and the key to a better future. Was it really? Is it really? I didn't think so at the time. So, what did we do? You know, through the QU South Africa program, we were able to create a library. And, you know, the QU students worked really, really hard. And at the time, they were painting, they were packing books. And I don't really think they fully understood what they were doing. We were introducing these kids to reading. We were opening up their imagination, allowing them to be kids. Even for one book, if they were able to escape their reality into another magical world, that was half the battle won. If they had that book in their community, they would burn it for warmth. And that's just a sad reality. So they now have a beautiful library filled with new books. We donate stationery. We donate books, as I said, and we support the teachers and the students through education. That's Sita over there. And I check her books. Bring them here. I want to see. And I go through and I see how it's going, her handwriting. This could be neater. You could do better there. But also, oh my gosh, check. You've done a great job. And, you know, check that smile. She's so proud of her work. And, you know, that little moment and that little bit of encouragement, I hope, will boost her into the future. So that's education. Next is soccer and art. I'm not a very good soccer player. And, but that, you know, I could have gone in and been like, oh, let's not play soccer. Can't we do something else? The kids are obsessed with soccer. They are so, so talented at it. And, you know, I always joke with them and say, you know, one day when you play for Bafana, our national team, I want a 10% cut. You know, don't forget who your manager really is. And, you know, I'm also obsessed with Ferrari. And I say to them, you know, why are we doing this? I want all of you need to buy me a Ferrari one day, you know, and they smile, but it's just that changing the way that they think and instilling a little bit of hope within them that, yeah, right now that may seem crazy. Why not? Why can't they play for Bafana? Okay, chances are they probably aren't going to drive a Ferrari. I mean, I've let that dream go a long time ago. But why can't they have a car? The one day I had these 2 guys and, you know, they just received their soccer boots. And, you know, I was talking to them about dreaming big and pushing the envelope. And the one kid, he was speaking to his buddy and he said, yeah, you know what? One day I'm going to be a farmer. And you can clean my tractors for me, you know? And the other kid was like, what? And I was like, just high-fived this kid. And I was just like, yeah, you know, awesome. And just them even thinking that is a huge win for me. The opportunities that these kids have and the predominant jobs within these communities, the women are maids and the gentlemen are gardeners. And I have kids who are leaving school at 16 to become a gardener because that means they've made it. Yes, I can make $7 a day. I'm the man. Watch me go. And they deserve more. And they are capable of more. What other opportunities do they have? What other chances do they have? Why should they succeed? Why should they finish school? They don't have food. They don't have clothes. What does school mean to them? And so that was one of the most important things for us, is to just try and change the way that they think, and let them realize that it is 100% a possibility. And so we introduced soccer. The QU men's soccer team have been instrumental in that, supplying balls and kit. And we had Coach Dave and Eric come for a week holiday camp, and some of the team members. And they never treated them any differently. They were hardcore with them. One of the most memorable times, for me was, and I say they have a soccer field. Oh, I don't know if I have a photo here. I think there might be a photo coming up. But they have a soccer field, barbed wire, tin cans, glass. And this is the best that is available to them. And Coach Eric and Dave had them in a line, and all their group and all their teammates, and stood in a line. And it sounds, saying it now, it sounds so simple, but it was so powerful. And they would walk and they'd start picking up all the bricks and picking up all the glass and all the barbed wire, and just like, respect, respect, And I think you said it best, a leaf fell onto the field, and it was pandemonium. 5 kids died for it to try and get it off of the field, a leaf. This is our field, we respect it. It was more than just respecting their field, respecting themselves, respecting their school, respecting their community. They've never been taught that. We take it so for granted. They don't have role models to teach them that. And it's a small change of thinking. And then we have Ben. Some of you have met him, some of you haven't. He's a role model in the community, and he's lived the life that these kids have lived. He gets it more than I ever will. He goes in 3 days a week and teaches art. Art? It's unheard of in an impoverished school. They get to draw, they get to color, get to be kids. Not because they're poor, not because they're colored or black, but because they are human beings, and it's what they deserve. Why not? Unheard of. It's the only program within, we've got another 5 or 6 schools in the area, only school with that program. And Ben is also our soccer coach. So we have a team, and they are really good. I want them to take on white schools. I don't want them to take on, the poor schools down the road. I want them to go to the private schools, and I want them to make some boys cry. And why not? Why not? And then the third part is sustainable businesses. Because as much change as we make within the kids, they're still going home to dads who beat their moms. They're still going home to dads who have huge drug issues, moms and dads who are raging alcoholics, and, maybe having a blanket. Some of them share a bed with 3 or 4 of their family members. And that's what they go home to. So as much change as we have within the school system, we need it to impact change within the communities and within the parents. And again, working collaboratively with the community, not going in and saying, you're African, let's make beads. Let's bead something, drives me insane. So, trying to analyze what skills they had and what passions they had and what they wanted to do. And one of those was sewing. So we started off hand sewing quilts with secondhand material, and long story short, it developed through the QU South Africa program. We managed to supply them with sewing machines and some serious training. And they're so possessive over these sewing machines, they don't let them out of their sight. They go to the shop with their sewing machine. Wherever they go, they have their sewing machine inside, because that is their lifeline. That is the chance that they have to change their lives, not only for themselves, but for their kids. Huge. Small action, huge impact. I'm going to say that a lot. Write that down. So, these women, despite the issues that they had within their homes, they've created these quilts. And to you, it may be like, oh yeah, another African quilt. Okay, I've seen 100 of them. This is not another African quilt. This is the lifeline to a new life. This is a chance for a life, for empowerment, for better opportunities. I just quickly want to talk about 3 of our women. So we've got Sankey at the bottom here, and with her sewing machine, and there's Sankey on the right with her black and white, and then we've got Sankey on the left. Those were the initial quilts that we started to make, and it's been a learning process. And these are Sankey's kids. They're much bigger now. And so on the far left is riddled with cancer. The next appointment she can get is 4 to 5 months' time. Cancer. She makes the most quilts that we have. I mean, you'll go and have a look at her story. She's the most determined and hardworking person that I know. Because she doesn't know what she's going to leave behind for her kids. She doesn't know what chance she's going to leave behind for her kids. And her boyfriend beats the crap out of her. He's addicted to tuck, also known as meth. And when she comes home with Tippy Toe's cash, he will beat her until she gives him that cash so he can go get drugs. He's unemployed. My mom has to make sure that they go to the shop to get food and clothes for the kids before they get home. And when she rocks up with no cash, she gets beaten anyway. I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, she packed up her stuff, she packed up her kids, and she left him. She had a choice. She was empowered. If she did not have the quilting business, what other option did she have to change her life? None. She could go clean a white man's house. Yay. More to life than that. So our quilting business has really been truly remarkable. You see the quilts around you outside. This is just another example. And I want these to be available throughout the world. I want them to be available throughout Africa because of what they represent. And then we have a business with our men. We started it quite recently, and I didn't have faith in them. My way of thinking was like, if you're drunk and you're beating your wife, well, first of all, there's times where I want to punch them in their faces as well. I can't do that. They're bigger than me. But as drunk as these guys are and as abusive as these guys are, gave them tools, gave them pallets, honestly not thinking that they would change their lives, but still allowing them to have the chance. Look what they made. Look at this kennel. Beautiful. And I joked with them and I was like, oh, come on guys, you bought this. Someone brought it in. You got it from somewhere else. You didn't make the cup. Come on. And and they'd start smiling, be like, Tam, I promise you I made it. I made it, Tam. I made it. Grown men. Giving them a chance. Small impact, huge difference. So those are the 3 aspects that we try and focus on within our communities for long-term, sustainable social change. But how do we do this? As a white woman going in, and how do we do this? And that's about building relationships. I think any of these students can attest to the relationships that we've built with our community members. There's no judgment. As much as they smell and as much snot is running down their nose, we love them all the same. And when I go to the community, there are kids just running out of the bushes and they call me Tam. And they just, Tam, and that's how my life is blessed. I'm unbelievably blessed to even have that experience. It's because people helping people. We love and respect each other mutually. It sounds cheesy, I know, but it really is just the truth. So, skipped a few pages. You'll recognize some faces there. Can't escape them. So don't cry. So as I said, we need to analyze the needs. So going into the school, chatting to Claudine, the principal, the grade 6s and 7s share a classroom. That's 60 kids in one classroom. It's the last chance we have to impact their lives before they go to high school. High school is a war zone. There are 3 predominant gangs, the 26s, 27s, 28s. I'm not going to tell you what the last one is because it's really disgusting, but 27s are thieves and 27s are fighters, 26s are thieves. and they have it tattooed in, and they've been to Polesmore, and it's this whole like underground network, and the 26ers can't go into the 27s area. And I've had to try and learn about this and understand it, not judge it, be aware of it, so I can try and assist. I've got these guys, these street guys in Capetown who, you know, I'm so embarrassed about white people at times. I work in a corporate industry, I have a full day job, walk out of my office, and, you know, the street guys will be there, and they try and park cars because they're addicted to heroin, and they need $3 a day to get their fix in the morning. And I watch people, as they come out, they see the street person, bag underneath, head down, and fast walk the opposite way, you know. And I've gotten to know them, not judging, people helping people, small actions, making big differences. I'll hug them, and I scream at them in the street. Is this the life that you want? How was your heroin this morning? Was it cool? You feel good today? How's the day going? Different as yesterday? No? Oh, okay. And, you know, they say to me, and it, you know, these rough gangsters. And it goes more than that. It's human being to human being, person to person. And they just needed someone just to say, I think you can do better. I look at you and I know you can do better. All of you have parents, have guardians, have grandparents who believe in you and support you and motivate you. Imagine not having that. Where would you be right now? I'll tell you something, I doubt you'd be sitting in this room. It's very, very powerful. So trying to understand the issues, not judging them, and then together with collaborating with individuals, collaborating with communities, trying to find ways to solve the problems. So, okay, that's one of the, oh, you're everywhere, front page of the newspaper, everywhere. These are just some special moments, and, you know, I want to talk a little bit about the QU South Africa program, not to punt it, but just because it's something that was so unique and so special and life-changing for me, and at the end of the day, the reason that I'm here right now. Special moments. That's Tasmia. She's very cute and very naughty. She'll manipulate you to give you the last sweet that you have, and she's got the biggest smile. Naughty, very, very naughty. You know, you can see Coach Eric there. Check the intensity of the game. Sky, and then, you know, obviously Andrew with his fave, and, you know, holding his hand wasn't enough, and giving a pat on the head wasn't enough. He just needed to grab him and put him up, and, you know, and these are the unique moments that really made a difference in my life, in the students' lives, and in the kids' lives. I mean, I wish I could read you some of these letters that the kids have sent the QU South Africa, asking how they are. I'm worried about you. Is everything okay? Hope America's all right, you know. They live in a tin shack, they have no food. They're worried about how Skylar's doing in America, you know. And again, it takes you down to, it doesn't matter if you're poor, it doesn't matter of your skin color. People helping people. So, you know, I want to, what's my next slide? I don't know. So, you know, I want to, coming here to Connecticut, it's, you know, going into New York and stuff, it's kind of like a movie. And being on this campus, it's, you guys may take it for granted, but it's mind-blowing to me. We have nothing like this in South Africa. The facilities that are at your fingertips, you have absolutely no reason not to excel and not to succeed. You should be killing it, crushing it every single day, hard. You should be. And you have no excuse not to. And, you know, being here has made me think a little bit more about community. You know, I feel like I'm a part of this community. Do I live there? No. Do I share their culture? No. But through mutual trust, empathy, compassion, it has united us for the past, 5 years into being this family on a human level. In your classes, in this university, in the city, in the state, you guys are all part of a community. Are your blinkers on every single day? Do you go through the motions? You guys are privileged to be here. Your parents have worked hard to get you here. Are you grateful? Do you expect it? I can't believe the cars that are in this parking lot, you know? And as I said, I'm a motorsport enthusiast, but it's a different world. And that's not a bad thing. I don't want you to feel bad for what you have. I want you to appreciate it. I want you to be grateful for it. And I want you to make the most of it. What do your actions say about who you are as a person? What legacy are you leaving behind on this planet? This is my mission and my journey in life. It hit me when I was 25. Before I was 25, believe it or not, I was an opinionated, obnoxious brat. So maybe a little bit easy to believe. And I just realized that talking was not getting me anywhere. I needed to walk. Needed a bit more action. Especially with white South Africans, you know, they'll go to a school and paint a school and take a photo and put it on Facebook and yeah, I'm an awesome human being, you know? And what sustainable change is that? What relationships are being built through that? None. Over talkers. So over talkers. I need walkers. Most of the stories, you know, that I've shared with you today can't be Googled. You won't find them anywhere. Okay, that's good and bad. But I wanted my actions to make a difference. I wanted the steps that I take for people to notice and to inspire people. And I hope that's what we've done. Each and every single one of you, well, I believe, every person on this planet has their own journey and their own mission in life to impact the world. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow. If it hits you, will you know it? And what will you do about it? Will you just carry on watching Housewives of Miami and Dance Moms and tweeting? Or will you embrace that and do something about it? You have individual skills and passions and gifts to give this earth. Not just planet Earth, this university. Not just this university, this town, Connecticut. I know there's very rich areas and very poor areas. How are you impacting the poor areas? How are you impacting your community? I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this to change the way that you think. You guys are blessed. You guys are privileged. What legacy are you leaving behind? What do your actions say about who you are? Just checking out some of the, you know, flyers and stuff. There's a food bank drive and they're looking for volunteers. And, you know, I know that there's a lot of fundraisers and you guys are almost kind of numb to it and you're just like, oh, I can't eat another cookie, you know? And I get it. But then start your own. Start your own charity. Why not? We did it. Find your passion. What are you leaving in this world? What is your legacy saying? You might not remember me tomorrow. You might not remember me the next day. Will you just continue your lives the way that you have been? Just change the way that you think. You know, what's important for me is, and if I can leave you guys with any kind of message, it's to be a little bit less selfish. A little bit less selfish. And that starts the minute you leave here. You know, not driving in for that parking before the guy to make sure you get there in between, before him, you know, cleaning up after yourself. Hi, Mom. Thanks so much for everything you do for me. Hey, Gran, I love you so much. What are you doing on Saturday? Let's go have lunch. Small actions with a big impact. It doesn't start in Africa. It's far. It's a really long flight. You know, how are you guys getting involved in the poorer communities in your own town? And not standing on the rooftops and, I'm such a great human being, look at me. But just doing it. You know, I don't want to call him out, but, you know, one of the students who came to one of our camps, he's a walker, he's not a talker. And I have an immense amount of respect for him. As I said, grade 6s and 7s share a classroom. 60 kids, one teacher. I mean, this teacher will knock you out. This teacher's hardcore. And I would not mess with her. I knock on the door very quickly. Hi, ma'am. You know, can I come in? You know, and on one side of the classroom, it's geography. Other side is maths. And somehow this woman is meant to impact 60 lives. How? How? Please, somebody tell me how. She's doing it. And Andrew, through a crowdfunding program, managed to raise $14,000, it's actually more, 3 to 4 weeks. And as we speak, a classroom's being built. I don't know how many of you even knew that. He's not telling very many people. He's doing it. It's happening. Not only will these kids' lives be changed next year, but the following year, the year after that, and for generations to come. It's an extra chance, not because they're poor, not because they're black and colored, but because they're human beings and because they deserve it. We are global citizens. We're all connected in one way or another. Imagine if every person on this planet was this much less selfish, put this much more emphasis into their actions, and stop talking. We talk a lot. What kind of world would this be? What kind of world would we live in? You know, everyone's sitting here. You've got your own struggles at home. Everyone's going through their own thing, their own stuff. I get that. How are you helping that person? Person right next to you. You just carry on your day and, you know, headphones on. Everyone wears, you know, this campus seems to wear really comfy slippers, and off you go to, you know, to the next class, and that's life. And you'll leave here, you'll get a cushy job, you'll make a lot of money, you'll get your Land Rover, you'll get your house, you'll get married, have your 2.5 kids. Who cares? Who cares? How have you impacted the world? How have you impacted your city? How have you impacted your community? Not talking, doing. Over talkers. And yes, we've done a lot in the communities. Not actually we've done a lot. We've allowed some opportunities for some people who need it. They've done the work. The kids are working hard at school. The kids are killing it at soccer. You know, there's two boys and their boots, you know, there was only one size for both of them. So the one kid puts on the left shoe, the other kid puts on the right shoe, and off they go playing the soccer game of their life. Big smile. One soccer boot on their foot. That's what they have, and they take it on board and they rock it. Are you rocking it? Are you? Don't think so. I think we can be doing better. And that's just the message I want to leave with you. Be a little bit less selfish. This is our mission. This is our journey. I'm not asking you to be a part of that. You know, I'd love for you to maybe follow us and stay a part of our journey. But what is your mission? Go out there and start a foundation. Go and find a kid that you can read to once a week. You know, what about old age homes? Maybe that's your passion. Be better. Do better. Small actions. Write it down. Making big impacts. And I just want to read you something. I mean, obviously, you know, Nelson Mandela was the biggest walker of all. In prison for what he believes in. And an inspiration to everyone. He passed away. It was one of the saddest days in the country, and you could feel the hurt in the air. You could feel that unity among countrymen, not because of color, not because of what you had and didn't have. Human beings, people to people, simple. In the words of our beloved Nelson Mandela, and you know, this is important to me. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Not talking about your double degree in what. I'm talking about being aware, caring. Open your eyes to the world around you. And it's easy in America to just carry on through your motions. You guys have it all. You guys have it all. You know, my mom and I, we were once hijacked at gunpoint. Not in the communities, outside my mom's house. And, you know, people, and, you know, to have a gun in your side, and it was an eye-opener. I would rather die for what I believe in, going into my communities, than live the rest of my life not making an impact with my blinkers on. Do you feel the same? Maybe not. But maybe let's just change the way that we think. Let's impact our local community, and in turn, will impact the global community. We're all connected. In South Africa, we've got a saying called Ubuntu, and that means we are one. And and that's the truth. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today, and follow us on at Tippy Toes SA to continue with our journey. And don't forget what I said. Let's be less selfish. Thank you.
And so I just want to end, as we mentioned before, Tamarin and Linda do this as a side gig. And so all the money that they raise goes directly to the communities and to the projects. So as you see outside, there's a bake sale the QU South Africa students are holding to help raise funds for the summer camp that they're running in January. So feel free, if you want, to donate there and buy a cookie. You never can have enough cookies. And secondly, take a look at the quilts that are out there. There's a silent auction going on that'll end in about 10 minutes. If just to take a look and see what is being made in these communities and under these really difficult conditions. If you want, make a bid. If not, that's okay. As Tamarin said, there's if she hit you, feel free to donate. But there's a lot of different things out there that you can become involved in. Just find your passion. Thanks and have a good night.